So I'm gonna start making these and I'm just gonna fucking upload them to YouTube. I don't really care if anybody sees it. I mean, obviously secretly I hope, but these are really more for me to kind of think through a lot of the problems that are in my life. Um, and I'm not saying I live a shitty life or anything. I mean more like operational stuff. So for myself, um, I have a lot of stuff going on. I have these different goals. I have these different aspects of my life that I want to make progress in. And maybe it'll help somebody who also has a lot of different things going on, managing multiple interests, generalist, polymathic, whatever, helps them manage that as well. And so the first thing for myself has always been emotional management. That has been the most difficult for myself. Like I use this story a lot, but I used to be massively overweight. And I knew everything I needed to do for like over 10 years. I knew what I needed to do to lose weight. And I could recite it to you, be in a calorie deficit, go get exercise, you know, move more, get more steps in, yada yada yada. All this stuff, it's good. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it wasn't the problem. It wasn't the root of the problem. The problem was not an operational problem. The problem was a sort of psycho-spiritual emotional problem. So that's why I ended up getting into the deep like inner work stuff. So the spiritual and eventually it became spirituality. At first it was just like the realm of the psychological. And so I got therapy. I started getting therapy 2023, and that helped, but it wasn't the only thing. Well, it really wasn't the only thing. It was in 2024 where I started making a lot of progress, meditating every day. And I think also 2023 was when I started getting into the whole, like, spirituality thing. So yeah, I had to actually develop myself emotionally and spiritually to start being able to do stuff in the physical world. And so when I started getting therapy and when I started getting into spirituality and consciousness and all these deeper things, um, not coincidentally, that's when I started on threads and started posting online. Right. So there is the psycho-spiritual component to I'm gonna just write my handwriting is so garbage, right? So it's like, and you'll read this a lot in spiritual and just any text. Like you can, and like the Taoists talk about it a lot, the Buddhists, the Hindus talk about it a lot, where you're walking between heaven and earth. And so in a way, when you're talking about weight loss or when you're talking about being a calorie deficit, or and when it comes to creating content online, it means like sitting down to write 4 hour work blocks and all that sort of stuff. That's earth. That's the earth side of things, right? Whereas now where it comes to things like, oh, I'm this formless being, I'm an expression of spirit in the physical world, or all these things, that's what I call the psycho. And then things like, oh, childhood trauma, that's what I would call the realm of the psycho-spiritual. So it's kind of like these two. How do you get rid of this freaking background? How do I do that? Whatever. So on the one side you have the psycho-spiritual, right? And then on the other side you have action, what I would call operational stuff. This is stuff that you do. So it's not that this stuff any is unimportant, but it is definitely not as important as this stuff. And so if you find yourself, you've been trying to lose weight or you've been trying to accomplish this specific goal in your life, and you think you're trying to do the right actions, and you've been trying for a long time and you haven't gotten the outcome that you desired, then it's time you're gonna have to look deeper than that. And that is you're gonna have to examine the psycho-spiritual aspect of this. So for example, when I used to go on these um I used to go on these really bad binge cycles where I would kind of be on this super strict caloric deficit and then just just freaking all out binge and then just basically undo most of the progress I made from that super strict caloric deficit thing, right? It's, it's actually a pretty common thing that a lot of people trying to lose weight and all that sort of stuff go through, right? And so I can't really give you a solution. You're like a straight solution. You're probably not going to be able to hear it off this video and be like, oh man, now I heard this video, now I'm gonna go and lose fucking weight. It's actually very iterative process where you kind of have to go in, and sometimes it involves you sitting there and thinking about it or contemplating. Sometimes you can, and then sometimes you're gonna have to go out there and do stuff to uncover all the psycho-spiritual shit, right? So you're gonna get a lot of there's gonna be all sorts of like YouTube or whatever. You're gonna get a lot of people who are first squared firmly on one camp where it's like, oh, bro, it's all spiritual, it's all mind, it's all mental. And then there are the other guys where it's like, bro, fuck all that shit. Just take action, just take action, just take action, just take action. That those people, I'm not. It might have worked really well for them, but for myself, if it has never worked for me to be very dogmatically or just at least like all in on any one singular aspect of reality. For myself, it's always been okay. I what action do I need to take here, or is this something that is an operational problem, or is this a psycho spiritual slash emotional slash? There's really got to be a better umbrella term for this. There's, but is this a psycho spiritual problem that I need to solve? Do I need to go in deeper and you know fix that, right? And for sometimes it's really just as simple as, oh, how do I do this? Like for example, how do I how do I wash my linen pants that I just bought from Amazon? I don't need to go in deep about how, oh, I need to learn how to like, I don't know, meditate so that I can be at peace when I'm washing my linen pants. That might be your journey. I don't know. But for myself, I have found that sometimes all you need to do is just do a Google search and then boom, plug and play, just start doing the stuff that you see there. Sometimes it's a little deeper than that. That's when you're gonna have to, unlock Pandora's box of all like the childhood trauma. And then sometime now I'm going into like Jungian psychology and Campbell's like mythology and all these sorts of deeper things, right? And so that's what I really mean is what you are doing is you're kind of moving between these different aspects of reality. And really the game is knowing, okay, where do I need to be? And another way to think about it is this a problem for the mind or the spirit, or is this a problem for the body? That's another way to think about it. These are not perfect. Like you could probably poke all sorts of holes and why these frameworks are wrong or whatever. And yeah, you're probably right. They're not perfect. But I think the essence of it is understanding that sometimes what there's a quote in entrepreneurship where every business problem is an emotional problem in disguise, right? And so the same thing is true. So you have to know what's going on. And so, and again, this is not something you're going to figure out in like one sitting. You're going to have to go out there, try a bunch of shit, and you're going to have to make a lot of mistakes. I certainly have. I wish I didn't have to, but that's just how it goes. So for myself, that's really what has been kind of like my philosophy when it comes to, I guess, productivity in general. Because for myself, I used to watch a bunch of Thomas Frank. I read Getting Things Done. I've read a bunch of Cal Newport, and again, there is value in those things. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying that they are like I'm not even really saying anything about them really. It's just that the person, have to be able to make that decision for yourself and understand, okay, what is my actual problem here? And where to what aspect of reality do I need to um, tackle this? Right. So it is somewhat metaphysical. It is somewhat metaphysical. So, for example, I already gave you an example. So, but now in my life, I feel like I've done a lot of it, a lot of inner work. I've already done a lot of the depth. Not to say that I'm perfectly like good now. And no, you're not. You'll never be. There's always going to be some other stuff, another layer to unlock, right? But now I'm at this point in my life where, okay, cool. I I don't I'm good. I I know that I don't need to follow the script that everybody's laid out for me. And if I choose not to, then I'm still good, right? I don't need anybody's approval of my life path, or as much as possible, right? Obviously, it still hurts sometimes when, your mom says something, when my mom says some shit like, I don't care, like, why don't you have a college degree? I'm only human. But I feel like I have kind of developed enough where I can kind of go after things And now my problem is a lot of it, it's not all of it, but a lot of it is operational. And so that's why I'm actually going back into the whole productivity thing and I'm worrying about stuff like finances. And so the other day I went through and I started watching Ramit Sethi. So for some background, I just paid off like $20,000 of credit card debt. I used that to pay for all the courses and the coaching that it took to learn how to write online and build an audience and all that sort of shit. I was it worth it? Yes. Would I do it again? Fuck no. I will never get myself into that financial situation again. So, how did I pay off the debt? Well, in September of last year, I just decided, okay, look, if I just don't go out, if I just don't live a life, I won't spend money. I will spend less money than I earn, and therefore I will pay off my debt pretty sooner than later, right? And it worked. But now I'm kind of sitting here and I'm like, fuck, I kind of low-key hate my life right now because, well, of course, I've just been in my room or just at home or working basically every day in a job that I honestly just fucking don't really like. Right. Well, some aspects of it. And so now, now the really the big question is how can I still hit all the goals that I want while while living somewhat of a life? And so what are those goals? So my goal right now, the big goal of my 20s really is to unlock full financial freedom. Full financial freedom. What that means is time freedom. I get to pick when I work, where I work, with who I work, right? And so and be able to raise a family if I really wanted to, so that even if that was the only thing I did, then I would be good financially for the rest of my life. And so that is my big mission right now is full financial independence. So that'll probably take me like, I don't know, 7 to 10 years, I would assume. So I'm going to be pretty busy for a while. But for now, for the next year or so, I've decided that I want to move out because and the thing is, I want to move out, but I want it to be cheap. And being raised in California and living in the US, you guys should probably know, because I'm sure most of you are living in the US, that would eliminate basically the entire country. Unless I move to like, I don't know, South Dakota or something like that. But I don't really want to do that. Plus, even then, it's still not as cheap as some countries. And so I decided I want to go to Philippines, right? So now it's setting myself up to be good financially so that I can move to Philippines. And I found that the cost of living is way lower. I can live there comfortably for one thousand a grand to about 1,500 a month in a nice in a nice area of the city of a city, either Cebu or BGC or something like that. Um, Probably Cebu. And I have all my conveniences. So I have a gym nearby. I have, like some sort of martial arts nearby, dance classes, all the benefits of a big city, but for cheap. And I'm also a citizen there, so it's easy. So now, okay, I have to work backwards. Okay, so I had the financial goal, right? So right now, the goal is to have about 25 to 27,000 in savings before I leave the Philippines, which is going to be August 2026. Which is about 17 months from now. And so I need to figure out how to save like about 25,000. And so I ran this through with ChatGPT. And since I'm going to be actually traveling for 3 of those months total, so that's 14 months from here until next year, technically. So I need to save about 2,000-ish a month, around 2,000-ish a month. And that'll get me to that'll get me to 27-ish thousand, 27 to 30,000 by next August. And if I pick up extra shift, I can make a push to get to 30,000 beforehand, right? So 2,000-ish a month. And so I work at my job. If I work, I actually have, so I'm very lucky. I work at a job where I have a lot of freedom and I also get paid pretty high hourly rate. I make about 31.5-ish an hour. And so we did the math with ChatGPT. If I did, and I verified it with California income calculators. Fuck, our taxes are terrible here. But If I work 4 days a week, because I'm not working the 5 to 6 days I was working, or actually basically every day for that 6 months in September. If I work 4 days a week, then I can make about 33,000 ish, a little over 3,000 ish per month, right? 3,000 ish per month. So if I save up 2,000, that still leaves 1,000 for me to spend each month, right? To spend each month. So that'll be for groceries. I live with my parents, so luckily I don't have to pay for rent or anything like that. So groceries, gas, and then basically all my subscriptions that I have to help run this whole creator thing. So groceries, gas, subscriptions, and then maybe some discretionary like fun spending, right? And then I would add education or like self-development. So that would be a gym membership, books, Muay Thai classes, dance classes, whatever. So it really comes down to these five categories. So I would actually change subscriptions to more like, I guess, bills, business expenses, you could say. So it comes down to those five categories: groceries, gas, subscriptions, self-development, and then discretionary. And so maybe like $100 per month. So a couple days ago, I went and I got my credit cards and well, I watched some Ramit Sethi and how to set up the automations for, once a paycheck comes in, that automatically loads it into my savings. And then I set up auto payment. Well, I changed the due dates on my credit cards, so they're kind of all the same. Um, I can't really, I can't exactly, I can't move the Apple credit card due date, but I was able to move all my other three to the couple days after my first paycheck. So I'll pay the first set of credit cards after the first paycheck, and then the Apple credit card, and then savings. The rest of savings will come on the second paycheck because I get paid twice per month. So that's the whole financial thing. That's kind of like automated. So hopefully that'll be on autopilot for forever, ideally forever, right? So whenever I'm making a source of income, like, and I get a paycheck or an invoice in, then that money is always gonna have a place, right? It's gonna have a job, right? It's working for me, I suppose. And so that's the financial goal, which is the biggest thing right now. I want to be able to walk both worlds here. So the financial goal, yeah, save up about 30,000-ish before I leave for Philippines. It's probably gonna range from like 27 to 30,000 in the end, because I'm still gonna travel in those 3 months. So it might not be up to 30 exactly, but fairly close if I do it right. All right. And so that's the financial goal. So the next one are fitness goals. Fitness and finance. And so the fitness goals are pretty important because I don't need to explain why fitness is important. It really it was the gateway to everything, the gateway drug to everything for me, for creating online, for doing all these other things, shit, even traveling the world. I spent all of 2022 losing weight, um, training for a marathon, ran a marathon early January 2023. And because of that, I have a very high battery. I can go walk all day long in Japan or in Tokyo or somewhere, and I'm not gonna have a problem, and I'll just wake up and do it all again. I remember when I traveled to New York back in October of 2022. I ran 7 miles in Central Park, and I still spent all day walking around with my family, and I got like 32K steps that day. And that's not to like brag or anything, but it's to show you that when you are in shape, your battery is endless. You have so much fucking energy to do whatever the fuck you want, right? And so that's why to me fitness is and always will be a priority to some degree. So, but admittedly, it kind of has been on the back burner in the past 6 months because I was so focused on paying off debt and just kind of surviving writing online. And so, but I still have managed to lose weight. And so I actually have lost, I think since October, I have lost about close to almost 13 to 15 pounds. I was about 161.5-ish when I came not October, but actually November. So I was about 161.5-ish. Now I'm hovering between like 146 to 148. So yeah, that is about 13 to 15 pounds. Now the goal is to get to about 10% body fat. That's the main goal. Goal is to get to 10% body fat. And so I've actually been now this time I've actually been dialing in on my diet a lot. And so I've been having a lot of the same stuff every day, which comes down to rotisserie chicken from Costco. Every week I would go to Costco, I buy the rotisserie chicken, I break it up, and I put it in these like, like those Chinese food takeout cups that they put the soup in and the rice, well the soup. Yeah, we just keep those around. I just throw the rotisserie chicken in there, and then I weigh it out every meal. And I've had that same thing, same meal. It's rotisserie chicken, eggs, and then fruit, which is either strawberry or raspberry, and then those little oikos individual uh Greek yogurt thingies you get from Costco. Boom, there you go. That's one meal. It's about like 50-ish grams of protein that I have there. So that's the goal is to get that dialed, to get my diet dialed, and that means calories wise and then protein. Obviously, it's not this is just kind of V2 of it. So now the goal is to work more veggies into there and have a more balanced diet and all that sort of stuff. But for now, this that's where it's at. So again, the goal is to get to 10% body fat with or I want to see a six pack, but to also have a bunch of muscle around that. So instead of going to the gym and doing a bunch of weights, I've had this home gym set up and I've been doing a lot of body weight stuff. And I've been doing it actually pretty much every day. So pull-ups, push-ups, dips, you know, all that stuff. Everyday workout, everyday body weight workout. Yeah. And so and then I've been weighing myself every day. So right now I'm still hovering around 146 to 148. I definitely have felt like this big kind of uh plateau. And I feel like it's a psycho-spiritual thing where I feel like, oh man, I'm still kind of identifying as somebody who is like above this weight at least, because this is literally the lowest I've been in my life, hovering between 146 to 148. So now it's just a matter of doubling down on these things. Like for myself, you know, I've been drinking. I was falling off the whole like getting enough water to drink. So of course I'm just gonna be hungry if I'm not drinking enough water. So it's like a meditation, man. You just come back to the same simple habits. So those are the fitness goals. Now time for the creator goals. Creator goals. So ultimately, I said before that my big goal is financial independence, right? But I want to do it in a way that's aligned with me. I'm not just gonna like, I don't know, start an OnlyFans and get rich that way. I don't know if people would really pay for that. But I want to do it in a way that's aligned with me. And so broad strokes, the creator economy, I see that as a way to not only self-actualize, but to achieve financial independence. And so that's why I started posting on Threads, because big part of it is, yeah, I do want to make a lot of money, and especially because it's online, it's remote. So there you go. There's already location freedom built into it, right? And so that's the next major step is, I've built up this audience. I have a lot of membership requests in my community, which tells me that there is some level of market validation from people about this whole polymath thing. It's called polymath creators. And so that's going to come down to three components now. It's going to be threads, right? Threads, polymath creators, the community. And then what I'm doing now is this kind of YouTube thing, I guess, where I do eventually want to like start going all in on YouTube, but I'm still early on this journey and I just want to not do zero for YouTube for the time being. So that's why I make these videos. It's not really about, oh man, I want to get a bunch of subscribers or I want to I don't know, blow up on YouTube. I mean, yes, obviously, like there is a hope, there is like this irrational hope. Where I'm like, oh man, I hope I just post this and then magically one of these will blow up. Obviously, of course, but really, it's more like to get reps in, because I think that's the biggest problem. And I don't want to derail this part of the video, but I think the biggest problem is people get too caught up in the whole, oh man, I gotta do all this, I gotta, but what about my thumbnails, or what about my these operational shit that people that you don't need to worry about. What you actually need to worry about is to just show up. And not just to show up, but to show up consistently. So you have to show up today, tomorrow, and the day after that, and so on and so forth. And so I say, so that's really what it is. So it's like I just turn on the camera and I start talking. Literally, this is not fucking scripted at all. This is not scripted. I'm literally just talking out my ass. I have some ideas and directions of where I want to go before I, hit record. Or sometimes I just hit record and let's fucking see where it takes us. Right. So that's the big creator goals right now. Threads, YouTube, Polymath creators. Eventually I do want to, be a big YouTuber or anything. I don't necessarily like to identify with those words, but I guess for lack of a better term, I do want to get big on YouTube and Threads and Polymath creators. I mean, eventually I would want to go, omni-platform, but for now, this is what it's at. But YouTube is really good for me right now because it's really allowing me to process all this stuff that's going on. It's a convenient way to just talk through a bunch of these problems, and then I could just post it, and then maybe somebody will see it, maybe not. But it's better than just not talking about it and then not posting it, right? So you get the double benefit of both, right? So Threads, YouTube, Polymath creators, and so Threads. Right now I'm at 4,000 followers. The goal is to get to 10K before 10 to probably 15K before I leave for Philippines next year. 15K. Yeah, I think that's a good number to aim for. So 15K. And then YouTube subs. Oh shit, dude. I mean, I'd be happy to have like 100 subs. Let's just say I see this thing. I don't really care about. I don't really want to set goals for this whole YouTube thing. It's just about showing up. So Polymath creators, by the time I leave next year, let's just say 1,600 members. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just put it down. 2,000 members. Screw it. 2,000 members by next August. So 15K on Threads, 2,000 members by August. Is that doable? We'll see. Time will see. See, like I'm even making these goals up. And then YouTube, I mean, shit, let's just put something. Let's put not nothing. 100 subscribers. Let's do that. 100 subscribers to my YouTube channel. So, yeah, those are the big things right now. It comes down to fitness, finance, and this whole creator economy thing. Like this is the beginning of my life's work. I see it, and always on the top of my head, like my big vision has always been human potential. How do we build a world that allows for the flourishing of human potential, for the full actualizing of all human potential? Now, will they do that even if we create some sort of hypothetical world? I don't know, but I want to be able to build a world where we can say, hey, you just show up to do this, and it's not going to be easy, but it's the barriers to entry are low, right? That's really what we're worried about here. Is we want to make, and which is a point of all this like equity stuff. You want to lower the barriers to entry, right? Whether you agree with that stuff or not, but that's the way I see things. Is how do we reduce the barriers to entry to your own potential? All right, so those are the goals so far. Oh, and then another thing is productivity, building my own second brain, but we'll get into that in the next thing.